Now let's read the first story. We got this from Breitbart. CNN's Enton. Polling shows GOP will take huge House majority, best position in over 80 years. This is fascinating. He said, quote, I would say they're looking very good from the historical context. Basically, I took the best Republican positions on the generic congressional ballot at this point in the midterm cycle since 1938. The generic ballot basically is, would you vote for the generic Republican or generic Democrat in your district? And guess what? Since 1938, the Republican 2-point lead on the generic congressional ballot is the best position for Republicans at this point in any midterm cycle in over 80 years. It beats 2010 when Republicans were up a point. It beats 2014, 2002, 1998, where Democrats led by a point. And in all of those 4 prior examples that make this list of the top 5, look at that. Who won a majority? It was the Republicans who won a majority. He added, now, of course, the election is not being held tomorrow, and we'll see. Sometimes history isn't always prologue, but my estimate for the 2023 House makeup, if the election were held today, which again it isn't, we're still 5 months from tomorrow, would be Republicans 236 seats to 241 seats, Democrats 194 to 199. That's based off of a formula of seat-to-seat race ratings from the Cook Political Report and Inside Elections. Now, this is coming from CNN, data reporter on Jake Tapper's show. Perhaps, hearing that's coming from CNN, it must be even worse. The fascinating thing is there was an article from the Washington Post that was like, Democrats are going to lose the midterms. Here's why it's a good thing. My favorite line in their opening paragraph is, every poll can't be wrong. They're basically saying, Republicans, right. They're like, Republicans are going to win. And, you know, as much as people might not want to believe it, every poll can't be wrong. And I just laughed because I'm like, not only are all of the polls wrong, but they're actually wrong in favor of Republicans. Right. I'm sorry, they're wrong in favor of Democrats, meaning if every poll right now is saying Republicans are going to win, and it's like the generic ballot is +2 GOP, it's probably +7 GOP or +10. So this is going to be amazing. Yeah. Luke, you were excited to be disappointed.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think it's very fair to say that there definitely is a political transformation. I question a lot of the polls that are out there, but I think that this political transformation that's happening is a precursor to the economic transformation that we're seeing under the Biden administration and under the previous administration that essentially is creating one of the largest transfers of wealth from the poorest people to the richest people. We saw this from the beginning of COVID. We saw this with the secret Federal Reserve bailouts. We're seeing the effects of this. The effects of this are being felt everywhere. I forgot which corporate media network was interviewing a random person at the gas pump just a couple hours ago. The video is going viral on Twitter because the person being interviewed is like, this is absolutely insane. This is going to motivate me to get politically involved, and I'm going to be voting for the Republicans. And this was a person who was previously a Democrat before, who publicly is stating this. So obviously, this larger political transformation has a lot to do with our current financial situation, which is absolutely ruined and left a lot of people in havoc.
I fully agree with that, man. It strikes me as like political football. The pendulum is swinging both directions. CNN's happy because they're either going to trash Trump or trash Trump. And but it's an economic crisis, and it's a transformation economically, either into some World Economic Forum, you'll own nothing and be happy, renters world, or something that we control into some sort of maybe, you know, democratically cryptographic, you know, decentralized, something new that hasn't been created yet.
Who knew stealing people's ability to have upward economic mobility was unpopular? Who knew giving corporate bailouts was unpopular? Who knew raising gas prices, stopping domestic energy production was unpopular? Obviously, people are feeling it. No lies, no propaganda could cut through the reality of the horrible situation that we're all facing.
And what are Republicans going to do?
Yeah, I mean, that's the question. You are going to be disappointed is always the answer.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
No, I mean, but it's so frustrating because this is such a moment, and I don't feel like Republicans are really they're talking about sort of opening domestic energy production, but I don't feel like anyone in power sort of understands what is actually happening with American families. I am in a Facebook group for large families, and it's a really fascinating window into a lot of different sort of ways of life. And the number of posts that people are making, like, how can I stretch rice and beans? What different recipes can I do? How can I be creative cooking for 10 people?
Well, I'll tell you, different types of vinegar. Different types of vinegar and different types of oil give you all these different combinations of flavor.
Ian, we were ordering supplies, and Ian was like, just buy a bunch of vinegar, and we got like 20
your
gallons.
White wine vinegar, your red wine vinegar, your tarragon vinegar, your malt vinegar, your balsamic vinegar, your coconut oil, your avocado oil, your olive oil.
You see what they do in Haiti? mud cake. You take mud and you put a little sugar and salt and butter in it, and then you flatten it out. And the mud is like not food, but it fills your stomach. Right, so, you know, it doesn't hurt anymore.
I mean, we're not there yet, but they will regret making people care this much. It is impacting every corner of people's lives in a way that this will drive anger. I mean, they're talking about, you know, abortion will fuel the midterm. Like, none of that will fuel the midterms. It is people driving to the gas tank and then not being able to go grocery shopping. That's it.
It's amazing to me that they're really driving the gun control narrative right now. The media is pushing it like crazy, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure the dude who turns on the news, it's just all going past him. Every word they say where they're like gun control and mass shootings, and he's sitting there just thinking, I don't have any money left. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to fill up my tank.
Well, they're trying to change the conversation. They're trying to make it
emotional. Abortion, guns.
But my point is, you can't, because when there's somebody who just is, they're holding the receipt in their hand for a $100 tank of gas, and then you're like, listen to me, gun control and abortion, and they're like, what did you say? What was that? I'm looking at my receipt.
An interesting statistic that was like 80% of people are worried right now. Financially, 80%. You cannot just wish cast that away with gun control or abortion or anything. At the end of the day, it's going to be the price of gas and the ripple effect of all of that.
Well, not only that, but we're just coming from the era of COVID, where small businesses, small operations were shut down by 2 weeks.
Non-essential. They weren't essential.
Yeah, by 2 weeks of slowing the spread. Walmart was allowed to be open. Costco was
Those
allowed
are
to
essential.
be open. And this was happening under the Trump administration. Again, the Biden administration is continuing the same kind of economic pain and suffering with all of their policies, all their regulations, all their taxes, all the moves that they're making that hinder the average person from having any kind of upward economic mobility.
To be fair, Trump did nothing.
Yes, yeah.
And Joe Biden is pushing regulation. So it was the governors and in these states that were doing it.
Well,
look at Florida. Come on, tell me Florida's doing bad.
Well, Florida's doing okay.
It's the promised land.
But it was,
why aren't we there right now?
It was Mike Pence that first said we need 2 weeks to slow the spread. He's the first one that instituted that idea, and everyone just kind of went along with it, which was actually bonkers. So you know, again, Florida did well because they were able to stand out and say, no, we're not going to punish everyone. There was also other ecological events that happened before COVID that hit Florida very severely, and their businesses were suffering before COVID, and that was another reason why DeSantis made a very strong stance saying, no, we can't shut down the small businesses of mom and pops. We can't have thug police officers walking around intimidating grandma, telling her shut down her little trinket shop. We can't be doing that in the state. This is unethical. The reaction, the causes of that, of stopping the global supply chains, of stopping the world economy, we're feeling the reverberations of that right now.
But there were so many other states that were feeling that, and they went whole hog. I mean, California was doing that. New York was feeling that. The states who stood up and said absolutely not were all Republican states. People have eyes, and they can see that in Florida, in South Dakota, things went back to normal much quicker than they did in California and New York.
Well, Florida led the way. The corporate media said that it was that DeSantis was good. South Dakota also, but Florida was the first public big state that everyone was saying was going to lead to the killing of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people.
The Grim Reaper on the beach.
I think you're wrong. South Dakota never locked down, I'm pretty sure. Kristi Noem was like, never going to happen.
And they never had a mask mandate.
And Florida did lock down for a little bit, didn't they?
Yeah. For like 2 or 3 months,
Right, yep. And then they came out and said, we're done with this. And Texas as well.
And the Kristi Noem, right? That's her name. And she said, we will absolutely not have a mask mandate. I trust people to make the right decision for themselves and their community.
But as far as the narrative, the major attacks were on Florida. The major attacks
were 100%. Yeah.
I think, they did try going after South Dakota. They were like, this is where the hotspot's going to be. They were claiming it was going crazy. And the population density is so low there.
Yeah.
But that's why they go after Florida, because these are major urban centers. Miami's massive.
Yeah. But Miami had different rules than the rest of Florida. So like I was planning a vacation, I think it was December of 2021, thinking like, we're going to go to Florida and be free. And then I started looking at the Children's Museum in Boca. Oh, it's still closed. Oh, let's go to this. Oh, it's masks for 2-year-olds. And it became sort of, we just sat in our backyard and swam because nothing in Florida where we were staying was actually really open.
I just remember how crazy it was when the lockdown first started. And we had a small backyard that was like a 0.2 of an acre or something. And we're just sitting in the backyard like, nobody can go anywhere. There's nothing open. And then we were like, we got to get out of this place.
We bought a house in March of 2020.
Now imagine if you were living in New York City. Imagine if you were living in a huge apartment where you can't escape, where you don't have a backyard. You have roommates.
They closed the parks, and they did padlocks on the playgrounds.
And it was that Israeli rabbi,
Heshi Tischler.
Heshi Tischler. He was on the show in Brooklyn.
He's not Israeli,
Jewish. Pastor came out there. Came out there and then cut it open and made a stand, and they arrested him.
Yeah.
He went to jail for making a stand just for allowing children to be able to be outside and not cramped up in little small apartment buildings, which was absolutely ridiculous and crazy and insane to see that entire process play out. And very few people actually stand up for their own personal liberty and will. But what we're seeing from those larger effects happened during the start of COVID. The larger economic effects that we're feeling right now is because of what happened then.
Yes.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.